The ground cracked open and, well, history started breathing again. What the construction crew expected to be another routine dig turned into something far heavier, colder, and honestly louder than any storm. Steel ribs, concrete scars, handwritten markings sealed away from sunlight. 5 centuries after it was buried, a World War II survival structure revealed itself like a warning sent forward in time. And what they uncovered tells us more about war, weather, and human instinct than any textbook ever could. This is the kind of story the scars of a Gloabal Storm Fronts channel lives for. Not clean history, not polished legends. Real marks left behind by a global storm of steel, fire, and fear. How the ground gave up its secret. The discovery didn't happen in a museum or an archive, it happened under pressure. Heavy machinery cut into layered soil, meant to hold modern foundations, not memories. Then the drill hit something that didn't sound like rock. Hollow, metallic, wrong. When the dust cleared, the crew realized they weren't looking at debris. They were staring at a sealed World War II emergency shelter, engineered to disappear. This wasn't accidental burial, it was intentional vanishing. The structure had been built fast, hidden deep, and designed to survive both bombs and time. 500 years later, it was still doing its job. This wasn't a bunker made for comfort, it was made for survival under extreme conditions. The design was brutal and efficient. Thick reinforced concrete curved instead of angled to deflect shockwaves. Narrow entrances that could be sealed in minutes. Ventilation shafts disguised as natural ground features. Everything about it screamed urgency. Records recovered inside suggested it could be assembled in roughly 45 minutes by a trained crew. That speed mattered during World War II, when air raids didn't give warnings twice. You built fast or you didn't build at all. And here's the wild part. No rust collapse, no structural failure. The shelter held. Centuries of storms above it. Floods, heat cycles, human development. Still standing. When the interior was finally accessed, it felt like stepping into paused time. Benches bolted to walls, emergency rations sealed in metal tins, manual air pumps still movable by hand. Chalk markings left by soldiers or civilians marking days without sunlight. This wasn't just a hiding place. It was, a micro-world designed to keep people alive when the surface turned hostile. The air system didn't rely on electricity. The water storage was gravity-fed. The insulation controlled both cold and heat without modern tech. These weren't conveniences. They were survival choices. 500 years later, construction experts realized something uncomfortable. Many modern emergency shelters wouldn't last this long, not even close. Why it survived when so much didn't. World War II engineering didn't chase elegance. It chased certainty. Materials were overused, not optimized. Redundancy was built into everything. If one system failed, another took over. If that failed, human muscle could replace it. The shelter had no digital weakness, no reliance on fragile components. It was built for a world where storms came in the form of bombers and shockwaves, but the principles apply just as hard to climate chaos today. This is where the global storm angle hits. War was the storm. Industry was the thunder. Civilians were caught underneath. This shelter was a scar carved into the earth by people who understood that survival meant planning for the worst, not hoping for the best. 500 years later, the crew didn't just uncover a relic. They uncovered a lesson modern society forgot. Preparedness isn't about gadgets, you know. It's about systems that work when everything else stops. Engineers studying the shelter noted how airflow was maintained without power, how waste was managed safely in a confined space, how psychological stress was reduced with small design choices like curved walls and controlled lighting. These weren't accidents, not at all. They were learned under fire during World War II. The shelter proved that true resilience comes from simplicity layered with foresight, and that lesson travelled 5 centuries without saying a word. The most powerful discovery wasn't structural, it was personal. Scratches on the wall counting days, names written and crossed out. A message etched near the exit that translated simply to "still here." 500 years later, that line hit harder than any artifact. Someone survived long enough to leave it. Someone trusted this shelter with their life. And well, the shelter delivered. That's the real scar of a global storm. Not just destruction, but the quiet proof that people adapted, endured, and prepared even when the world was, collapsing above them. This discovery isn't just about the past. It's about how fragile modern confidence has become. World War II forced people to accept reality fast. Storms came without warning. Survival depended on preparation, not prediction. The shelter stood as physical evidence that low-tech, high-intelligence design can outlast centuries. It really challenges how we think about safety today. Bigger isn't always better. Smarter lasts longer. And that's why this story belongs here, on the scars of a global storm fronts. Because storms don't end, they change shape. 500 years later, a construction crew didn't just find concrete and steel. They found resolve. They found discipline forged under pressure. They found a World War II survival secret that still beats modern prepping in the only category that matters: longevity. If this story hit you, if it made you rethink what real preparedness looks like, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who thinks history is dead. The scars are still here, and well, they still have something to teach us.